Hi.
Hello, Jackie Monahan. Hello, Nicholas Nicholas Snow. Welcome to Never Normal, guys, the podcast where we talk about what's not normal to us. I'm Renee Santos. Who are you?
Jackie Monahan. And what do we both have in common?
We both have PTSD and we're sober, but what else do we have in common?
Lesbians! And we're happy!
And we're happy, guys. We're happy, sober lesbians. How weird is that?
And
that's why we're not normal!
Because we're not.
Because that's not normal. Because lesbians are supposed to be bitter and angry, you guys.
That's one of my
It's
jokes.
not actually.
That's one of my jokes. Do you remember that joke? I'm like, what did I say? I like, people never know I'm a lesbian. I thought it's because I wore makeup or dresses, but turns out what's throwing them is my cheerful demeanor. We both have it.
We do have a cheerful demeanor. So I know. I for a long time, it's such a good point. Like, I thought maybe people thought that I was straight because of my long hair. And I'm like, I think it's just that I'm happy. Yeah. I think.
But it's kind of different now.
You can't be gay.
It's kind of different now, though. I feel like when it was true when we were younger, but I feel like now there are lesbians that are happy besides us. We started it. We started happy lesbians.
And that brings us to our topic. Today we're going to be discussing living the dream and what that means for us, but also for you guys. We want you to jump in on board in the comments, and because I think living the dream, right? It's this like cliche thing that everybody says, or are you living the dream? Are you living the dream? And then there's this whole like American dream, which we all know that ain't normal. That's why we brought the topic on board. So let's chat, guys. What do you say?
I read that they're changing the American dream. Like the American dream was like a gated property with money, property, and prestige. And now it is being happy, being joyful, being self-supporting and loving life. It's not the same as it was before.
Do you remember that famous, there was a story one time, I don't even know who wrote it, but they were talking about like John Lennon when he was a little boy, and a teacher was asking him about like writing about his dream and what he wanted to do when he grew up. And that was one of the questions, what do you want to be when you grow up? And his answer he wrote was happy. And they were like, no, you got that. Yeah, and they were like, no, you got the assignment wrong. And he's like, no, I think you don't understand the question.
Didn't.
And I was like, how amazing is that? Like, and I try to live by that. Like, that's what the dream is, truly, is to make choices that make me happy. And speaking of like, we're both sober, and I've had moments where like, look, life happens to me. Don't get me wrong. Like, I just choose the joy. Like, shit comes at me pretty hardcore. And it doesn't mean that like I've cried in fetal position, but at the end of the day, like I ultimately get back to my joy. I don't sit in it, you know?
Me too. Like, I just had a panic attack.
Yeah, you just like literally 5 minutes before this show, you guys, we both had a complete panic attack and did like a 4-minute meditation before we launched in the show, because we're like, we want to bring our joy, but like we're not exempt, you know, like, and I think sometimes,
yeah. But I like what you said in that we choose to be happy, because this is a whole thing. I've had people say to me like when the election was happening, when the election was happening, I was talking to somebody. They're like, I'm not going to be happy until Biden is in the office, and I get what he means. I get it, but I'm like, nothing can stop me from being happy. Like, I'm not going to take that to make me happy. Like, I could name 1,000 things to be like, I'm not going to be happy until this. I'm not going to be happy till that. Like, you can name 1,000 things, but you can also name a million things on why to be happy right now. And I'm going to use those things to be happy right now.
And to me, that's the definition of freedom, is that like sometimes things are not unfolding perfectly. And the fact that I can still be happy in those moments, like, it's crazy. You know, at the beginning of all this, when my tour got canceled and I like wasn't eligible for unemployment, I had to go back to Starbucks, and like, here I was, like, my album had come out on iTunes, and I was about to launch this 2020 tour and move from New York to LA slowly and hit 22 towns. And like, I'd put all of this together on my own, and I had done all of like the marketing. I felt really like in my power. And then coronavirus happened and the entire tour got canceled, and I had to slap on a green apron and get humble again and go back to Starbucks. And like, you know, people are like, why are you so happy? What? Like, why? That doesn't even make sense. Why would you be happy? And I'm just like, and I could find the gratitude in it. Yes, there was that part of me that was devastated about the tour, but then I'm also like, I could pluck out the gratitude. And some of it, like you say, it's not always just easy to put a smile on. I had to be like, okay, whew, we're going to get humbled. We're going to go back to Starbucks, you know. And then I'm like, what am I grateful about? I have really good insurance. How amazing that I work for this company that like for 16 years, I've worked for them on and off and on and off. When my life has ebbed and flowed, I've taken leaves and pursued my career. And then I'm like, oh, I need some money. And then I go back, and like to have this company, no matter where I've gone in the world, I've lived in 6 different states, worked at 6 different Starbucks. Like everywhere I go, I have a job, studied abroad, had a job at Starbucks. Like Starbucks are freaking everywhere. Like there's this weird blessing in working for a company where I'm just, I can just knock on the door and be like, I need a job today. And I've worked here for 16 years. Like I just get transferred in. Like who can do that? There's freedom in that too.
Yeah.
Like, whenever things get financially scary, I always have a backup, you know? So I started to have that conversation with myself. And as bummed as I was, what I realized is, when I made my happy not conditional to the actual circumstance I was living, other things occurred to me. And that's when I became aware of virtual comedy shows. And then I was like, oh, what's this? And how can I, instead of being like, everything's falling apart, everything's horrible, like I could simultaneously be like, this kind of sucks. I miss an audience, but you know what I mean? Like I'm human. I don't just sit here and be like, everything's rainbows and flowers and like, eh.
Yeah. I have 2 friends that are financially better off than me and career-wise, like on paper, like they never have to work again. Let me put it that way. They never have to work again. They're all set. But they complain to me every single day.
Yeah.
You know who you are.
About...
You know who you are if you're watching right now. You complain to me every
Do not put any complaints in the comment box.
And
no negativity here.
I've had to really I have to learn not to give advice, to just be like, because people have to do it themselves. I can't do it for them.
And you can tell when there's a calling for advice versus like someone who's it's not gonna land, you know?
Yeah. And then they're hurt. They're like, there's stuff going on with them. But it's like, it's just like anybody can be happy. Like the stuff that I could use other stuff to be miserable every day. I could totally, but I choose not to. It's a big choice to make. And I'm really grateful that I made that choice, and I understand it and I comprehend it, and I continue to make it. Because I deserve to be happy, and I want to be happy, and I am happy. And I mean, it's not always easy, as we're saying, but I can do it.
I agree with that. Do you think our ability to choose happy comes from the fact that we've both experienced a lot of trauma?
I think it could be. I wonder if that's true. Because other people call it, in China, did I say this already? They have this saying that, you know, when they drop something, you know how we throw it away, they put it back together with gold.
Oh yeah, you've told me this, which is amazing, and they call that something.
Yeah, I forget it now, but I feel like maybe that's what we've done. But we've done the work to have that gold. We put it together with that gold.
But I think we needed to we needed to have that perspective. I feel like if things had been, you know, it's interesting. It's funny. I've had this conversation with my sisters in the past because we lived a pretty tough life, and, you know, but now I have nieces and nephews, and they've provided so much for my nieces and nephews so that they didn't have the same life. But sometimes they have that like entitled thing where they are bitchy and moany and complaining and not as happy. And it's like, oh my God, did I make a mistake? And then sometimes my sisters are like, do you have to go through like shit in order to be like a well-rounded, happy person? Like there's got to be a way that you still can like take care of your children and give them what they need, and at the same time they still are able to find their happiness. Like, do we, and I asked myself that question too. I'm like, had I not had a crazy ass mom that like abandoned me and a drug problem and I don't know that I'd be who I was, even from like my courage to pursue my art. Speaking of like life is a dream, I remember when I first went on tour, and it was scary, but I remember thinking, oh my God, it was like this culminating moment, because I was in the foster care system for high school. And, I lived in 8 different homes. I went to 4 different high schools. It was like this crazy journey where it's like, I never knew where I was going to live from month to month. But then when I got my first tour, I had this aha where I'm like, that's why I lived all this. Like, I have this nomadic spirit where I'm not scared. You could drop me in a different town every single night and I knew how to do it. Like, I just had this instinct. Like, yes, it was scary, but I knew how to walk through that fear. And I think sometimes fear is an indication that we're about to grow and not an indication that we're not supposed to do something, And so but I think, God, did I have to be abandoned by my mother to be able to go on tour? Shit.
You might have had to.
Is that weird to say? I
feel like, yeah. I remember, what did somebody say? I remember my friend, I had a best friend die of cancer. And all of her other friends couldn't really be there. They couldn't handle it. We were 22. And I was able to be there. And I always chalk that up to that my father was abusive.
It's so true. Like, there's something to be said about it. You know what I mean?
I really chalked it up to that. Like, I remember being like, yeah, I can be here because my dad was abusive. It made me stronger. It made me strong. But like, other kids could not deal with it. And then they were all there for her funeral, and I was so mad. I was really mad because I would ask them.
And then a little kid came out, and you were like,
"Yeah, I was mad. I wasn't mad that they were there. I was mad that they couldn't be there for, But now, I mean, I'm an adult now. I know I was an adult then, but it's still pretty young. Anyway, yeah, I always felt like I definitely have gained a lot from struggles in life. A lot of strength. And that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I was just like, I hate that saying. Like, I don't need any more strength.
Yeah. I'm like, I wish the universe didn't trust me so much. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's enough. I got
it. Yeah.
That's such a good point.
But then I was watching Jessica Jones. You ever watch Jessica Jones?
I don't know her. Is that really good?
She's a cartoon character from Marvel, and so it's on Netflix, and she was like, what doesn't kill
she's that new show, right? Whatever it's called. No, am I way off?
She's a badass. She's the only superhero that wears a leather jacket and jeans and boots.
Oh, I love it.
And she jumps high and has great strength, and she's hot as hell. Anyway, but she said one time, what doesn't kill you makes you stranger. And I was like, ooh, I love that, because I feel like being stranger is like the opposite of normal.
Totally. I remember somebody, I think I may have said this a couple of weeks ago, but I sort of live by it, so it bears repeating. But my mom was like, you got to stop sticking out like a sore thumb. No one wants to stick out like a sore thumb. And I was like, no, but I kind of do. Like, I like that I stick out. But I thought I remembered it as you don't want to stick out like a green thumb. So then for like the rest of my childhood, I was like, guys, I just want you to know it is good to stick out like a green thumb. And people like thought I had a lot of vegetables in my backyard. I don't know. I misinterpreted it. But like, to that point though, it was like, I've never been normal because of that. Like, I valued being weird. I never was insulted when someone called me crazy. And I was always the weird kid because I was the foster kid. I was always new. I went to 4 different high schools. When I graduated, like, no one even knew who I was. Like, I randomly walked down the aisle and they were like, who the fuck is this chick? It was so rare. My family wasn't even at my graduation. Like, look, we've gone through it. That's right. And that is the dream.
Was Sarah Silverman popular when you graduated? Or you're older than that?
I'm older than that. Yeah.
Because I was like, they were like,
Sarah Silverman's like 10 years older than me.
But Sarah Silverman got famous when she was 19.
Or maybe she was famous and I just wasn't aware of it. I think I was.
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of drugs and not paying attention to much more than lines.
Yeah,
of
that's
blow.
so funny
In
because I
full
know.
transparency.
Yeah, I know television now. Like then,
I was playing like solitaire in a room, like fucking tweaking. Like it was crazy.
but I never
Like,
watched
feel
TV because
me.
I was out every night drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we think of this topic, life is a dream, what does that mean to you? Do you think, like, we're both performing artists? Is that when you think of your life as a dream, is that where your brain goes? Is like your actual career, or is it?
It goes all over the place, but the main place it goes to, which I might lose people, hear me out on this. I feel like we are in a dream, and when we go to sleep, we are really awake.
Ooh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Not that our dreams when we're sleeping are real. They're just like what's being fed in. But I think we then wake up where where our higher selves are. That's just what I think.
That kind of makes sense. Like, I do feel like
I think we're like
our
an
dreams
avatar. I think we're like avatars.
We're avatar. I love how you're literally interpreting this as like the actual dream. But like, that's what's beautiful about the show is we go off on these diatribes where like, it's true, right? The actual living a dream. Have you ever had that moment where you dream like you saw something somewhere? Like, I had this one time with a thing of gum. Like, I felt like I saw gum somewhere in my dream, and then I woke up looking for it in that location, and then I was like, did I dream that gum was there, or was gum really there? Has that ever happened to anybody? Like the placement of an object, and you can't remember if that happened in your actual dream or if it happened in reality?
I feel like that's happened.
Who's ever had that happen?
I dreamt last night that a bearded dragon was chasing me.
A bearded dragon. What do you think that's about? There are all those like dream books, right? That and now.
Yeah, I meant to
like
look
losing your teeth. I have losing your teeth dreams all the time.
Do you?
And then I actually lost my front tooth. Talk about a dream, living a dream.
Yikes.
That was a fucking nightmare. Like full on lost my front tooth on the Brooklyn Bridge. True story. Yeah. Guys, it really happened.
Yeah. You know how high school was so short? It was right. Wait. So high school felt like it lasted forever. It felt like 20 years. And now 4 years goes by like that. Right?
It's true. I mean, I don't know that not to be a contrarian, but high school felt a little bit long for me just because I didn't like ever know where I was from day to day.
Yeah, but it felt really long for me. It felt endless. And I had a good high school life pretty much, except for algebra. I'm telling you.
Except for I was awful at math.
I couldn't do it. Wait, is our guest coming in? Is it 4:20?
It's almost 4:20. Let us, as sober people, were like, come on to our show at 4:20. But she has to. I have to send her the StreamYard link. So I have her email.
I sent it to her.
Okay. You did? Good. Okay. So I'll see her come in the stream and I'll add her in. So one of the things we like to do in this show is we have a guest come in each week that answers what normal is for them. So we're waiting for our guest to log on and we're going to field that question to her. But please feel free at any time in the chat for you guys to also participate in that answer. Like, we want to know what you think is normal and what is your dream? Like, what is living your dream? Because sometimes I do feel like it's my career, but sometimes it's also other things, you know, like I always wanted to be a swimmer. That was when I grew up on a lake, but like I was always too scared. And so that was part of like when I became an adult and I was like, wait a minute, I get to actually like choose how my life unfolds. Like I trained myself to be a swimmer.
Right.
You know? So I was like, okay, like that was part of the dream. And then it gave me courage to do other things in my life. So
that's part of the dream thing that I was saying. Like if this is just a dream, then we have so much more power than we're thinking. Like we don't need to live in fear because this is just a dream. And we can do whatever we want. Like we're the leaders of our own reality. And
we normalize fear, you know, like that's the thing. Like it is more normal to make a fear-based decision than it is to make like, you know, it's unrealistic to make this joy-based decision. There was a lot of people that were like, Renee, you can't just like do a triathlon. Like I just like signed up for it. But speaking of defining never normal, our guest is backstage. Jackie, do you want to introduce us and we'll bring her on board?
Sure. Oh, wait, 1 second.
Give the audience a little tidbit. I get like super New Yorker when I introduce somebody.
Oh, you guys, yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm like, we got a guest here. She's in the back room. I don't know what happened.
We're going to talk like this whenever we introduce a guest. Your next guest is my friend Kayla, who is a dancer and like exotic dancer. I'm just kidding. She's an
exotic dancer.
But she does beautiful dancing. I guess it's modern dancing. I'm not sure. And she does a little bit of comedy. She does a bunch of different things. So let's bring her on. Kayla.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be here. I just went on a walk, which was really nice. And then
walks were good. Walks.
That's living the dream too. Getting outdoors after coronavirus, taking a walk is totally the dream.
Yeah. I like going to a park because then I can like check if people are around, like on and off the mask.
Yeah. You're a masker, right? You wear the mask?
Of course.
But you're not a mask hole. I call a mask hole the people who only cover their mouths, not their nose. I'm like, you're being a mask hole.
Yeah. Full nose.
Yeah. It's hard for me not to judge people that do that. Because that's ground zero. You're not covering anything.
That's like having your scrotum covered and your penis hanging out. Like it doesn't
exactly. That's what it feels like.
It's not
That's what it feels like. I was getting a new phone and this guy next to me had it out. I was so angry because I had to stay there for hours. Kayla, tell us what you think about two things. You could start with either one. Living the dream, what that's like. No, not living a dream, but what is it? What did we say exactly? Dream life.
What is your definition of normal? Like whatever that is to you. Like when people are like, oh, I'm not normal, and then also like normalizing what is living the dream. Like what is that to you?
Okay. So I think normalcy has changed for me in the past couple of years and is becoming like, or I feel like normalcy is chaos. And just like allowing myself to ride whatever like directions come or waves. And yeah, I feel like I had to do a lot of like questioning in my life in order to like come back to myself. And so that went in so many different directions than was anticipated or so then just being able to like follow that. And I feel like living the dream would be just being able to create from that place, I think, from wherever I am in that. And it's really cool to hear you both talk about how happy you are, because I'm working on getting there. So seeing where those things interlap, like whatever experience I'm having, and then like, okay, what does it mean to have joy in this? Or if I am suffering, how can I still have joy in that, I think.
I love that. Right. That's like great and honest and not that. And thank you for being so transparent. I mean, that's partly why we do this, is like people's willingness to be seen and like have a real conversation is, I think sometimes what's not normal is we think like putting on that face, we normalize that in our society. And I'm like, I have found the most strength in my life by having a willingness to be seen, so thank you. That was such a cool, candid response.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, and I feel like the trying to put up a front makes me feel crazier, like, and makes things more difficult to deal with.
Right. It's funny, before the pandemic, people like small talk was like, what's the weather like? And now it's like, now I always complained about small talk because I just like big talk right away. Small talk is so like, ugh, for me. Like, I feel like I'm being fake doing it. And so with the coronavirus, like there's like small talk's a lot deeper already just because of everybody has something to talk to about with that, because the whole world's going through it. It's not just one person. Yeah. So what is your dancing? What is it? Modern dance? What do you call it?
I don't really know at this point. I think I'm trained in modern dance, and I feel like that can be anything. And yeah, I think I got bored of a lot of the like customary structures of dance. So now I'm like, I'm just going to do whatever.
Right. You're doing what's not normal, not to bring us back to our theme, but I love that. Like, I'm so drawn to that work, like people who are outside the box and don't like look like the dancer that people would categorize as a dancer. Like, those are the people I want to see, you know? It's really cool.
Yeah, Kayla has a great video of her dancing. What's the name of that song? When you're wearing all black?
Blinding Lights by
Blinding Lights.
Oh, do you have it?
The video?
Yeah, I want to put it up. Would that be too scary?
I'll be fine, but it's on Instagram. I don't know if that's like.
I'll have to find it. Maybe we'll shoot it up here next week.
It's so
I'm
good.
still not as tech savvy. I don't know how to like just get it up.
Yeah,
I wish I had a clap would be like, and make it happen.
It's beautiful because she's moving in such a way, like right now, like on TikTok and Reels, people are like, and it's beautiful what they're doing too. Like people are dancing and doing the shuffle, which is really cool. But what Kayla is doing is just beautiful. Like the music is just moving her, and it's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous. Yeah, more of that, whatever it is.
More of that.
What could you name it? Is that modern dance?
Yeah, I guess it's modern dance. I think, modern dance.
For lack of another word, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because did you plan on what you were doing, or was the music moving you?
Yeah, I think I had like taken a class before that, if I'm taking, I like to take classes that are like imagery based, so you're just improvising the whole time, and people are giving you like different tasks. And so then, so at that point I felt like I was like warmed up in that like creative way. So then I just turned on music and like did whatever.
Yeah, it's so good. It's beautiful.
Thanks.
That's so awesome. Yay, Kayla. Well, you are a delight. Will you stay with us for a few minutes here and chat with us more about life as a dream?
Totally. Let's do it.
Awesome. And I do want to find your Instagram feed and throw that video.
Yeah, it would be great to see it.
Is it just Kayla Bayer? Am I pronouncing your name right?
Bauer. It's okay.
Bauer. Sorry. I should never be a school teacher. I would always butcher people's names.
It's also under.
Go ahead.
It's under Bib 9, which might be easier.
I'm trying to find it.
Oh, so the other day I was thinking about the definition of success, and like just like I have a lot of success in my life, like a lot of great stuff has happened, but what like my true definition of success is letting anything that keeps me from my spirit go. Like every day letting go more and more of anything that keeps me from my spirit. And it like made me cry because I was just like, I'm successful. Like I don't have to strive for anything. I did it. Like I did and continue to every day move anything that keeps me from my higher self out of my way. Because
sometimes, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I agree with that. Like, I like that you said anything that moves me from my higher power out of the way, because I think also to embrace our success is being able to honor our purpose. You know, like, one of my favorite Viola Davis quotes is, and she may be quoting somebody else, just I heard her say it when she accepted an Oscar, but she said that there are two important days in someone's life, the day that they're born and the day they realize why they were born. And like honoring that. And I feel like my most success to me is when somebody honors whatever space they take up in the world. And it can be defined differently. Like if your whole life is to raise children and be a stay-at-home mom and be the most present, amazing mom, and you do that, you are incredibly successful.
Right.
But if you wanted to be a touring artist and somebody convinced you to have kids when you didn't want to, then you're not successful. So it's not the act that makes somebody unsuccessful. It's the intention behind the thing you're showing up for me, you know? And I feel like I've had one of the most successful years of my life. And like, I was living by myself in New York City, and like the last year of my life. And at first I'm like, this looks like somebody who can live on their own in New York City. That's success, man. Like, I'm doing it. I'm living the dream. But I was working around the clock. I was producing my own special. I was working at Starbucks from 4 a.m. to 2 in the morning. And then I was a nanny on the Upper East Side from 2:30 until like 10 o'clock at night, and getting back up at 4, just so I could say I lived by myself in New York City. I was never at my apartment, you know, but here I was, a single woman all by myself living in New York. And on paper, I looked hugely successful, and I was dying inside. Like, I was dying inside. And then, you know, I got humble, and then I like tried to self-produce this tour, and I moved into a co-living community with a bunch of like 20 somethings, and I have 6 roommates, and I'm single. I have no carbon footprint in the planet. I live in work in a shared bedroom, but I'm making art like crazy, and I'm producing all of this content. And I feel so much more successful this year than I did having my own apartment in Brooklyn. You know, it was like, and I chose to streamline. Like, I'm saving up money. I want to buy myself my own home. Like, I'm paying down all of my unsecured debt. Like, all of this stuff is like my plan for why I'm in this community. And it's like, it could be judged if somebody just walked into that environment. They're like, ooh, what happened to Renee? But I'm like happier than I've ever been in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's as long as you're happy with it. Like, yeah. So one day, all right, so my friend Jan and I and this other group of comedians, we ran into this crazy woman. It was amazing. And she was asking us all different things about ourselves. So she was like mostly interested in me. And then she was like, and are you married? And do you have kids? And I was just like, no. And Jan was like, yeah, no one's going to care about her when she dies. Nobody's gonna really miss her when she dies. And I was just like, Dan, how dare you? And but I thought it was funny because I know it's not true, and I have a different thought about what death is. Like, I think death is like exciting. like I just feel like it's just a transition. You don't really die. You're just moving out of the physical and just another energy. I feel like it's euphoric. Anyway, I don't want to die. I want to live as much as possible.
We're like, life is a dream, and then you die.
And then you die, and then you live a whole nother dream. But it's funny because I was talking to her today. I was talking about, oh my God, I'm going to tell you guys the worst thing ever. So... But anyway,
for those of you just tuning in, Jackie's about to tell us the worst thing ever.
Worst thing ever. So this woman, my friend sent me this article about this woman who's 86. She was living on Hollywood, and she just said hi to everybody. And she loved everybody. She was taking classes at the high school. She took all these different classes, and everybody loved her. And the people in the building were like, please stop saying hi to everybody. It's not safe for you. And she had no family, no children. But the people in the building were like her family. They were like, please stop talking to people. Like, it's not safe. And she was like, I don't care. I'm just going to keep talking to people. She was stabbed. She died. And I was like, I'm just like, I would rather go like that, happy and fearless, and not live in a nursing home suffering forever. Like, she got to be happy, dead. You know?
Sometimes you gotta like what was that famous guy Steve Irwin that died? He got like attacked by like a big stingray or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he clearly died doing what he loved. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it was the wisest decision of his life, and it
was the least dangerous animal.
Yeah, like that was his time. Yeah, you have those moments where you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, but my friend who had said that about me, nobody caring when I died, like it said it in the article, like she doesn't have kids, she doesn't have, but we all just heard about her today, and my spirit was lifted. Like, what a beautiful woman that was just like not in fear and was just happy all the time. They said she was so happy taking classes, she had friends everywhere. Like, for me, I think that's beautiful. I think that's success. But to other people, they're like, but to other people, they're going to read that and be like, yeah, don't talk to anybody. Don't look at them in the eye. Yeah, like, no, she came from love instead of fear. And that's what's beautiful. But my friend Jan was like, I'm like, this is going to happen to me because I talk to everybody. I know it. But I'm like, but I don't care because I've lived happy, fearlessly. And Jan was like, yeah, I walk around. She's like, well, I walk around angry and mad. And it's like, but I'm just saying, like, just because you have children and a husband doesn't mean you're happy.
Yeah.
Like,
and Kayla, you were mentioning, like, how do you find
I love an apartment in LA?
What'd you say? But Jackie does have her own apartment in LA. And I've sold my soul. No. But you were saying, like, how do you get to happy? And like the fact, like, it truly is a choice, because there are these moments where, like, sometimes the happy catches up with me. It's like, one of my, like, sort of like things I live by is I think we have this backwards, distorted thing in our society where you have to have something in order to, like, do the thing, right? You got to have money to do the comedy to then be happy, and happy comes last. And I live my life the exact opposite way. Like, I just be happy. I'm happy first. Yes. So then I start doing comedy, and then I get to have all the stuff that goes with it. Right. And the have comes last. And so I try to live by that. Like, I just be, do, then have. And that's really worked for me. And it's just, and it's not always that I'm, like, so incredibly filled with happy. Like, when life comes at me, that's just the stuff I choose not to give too much attention to. It'll sneak up on me, but I find that if I give negative attention to it, like, it'll gain a lot of momentum. I mean, Jackie's witnessed this. I turned 40 last year in quarantine, and I went through this stage where I was, like, fucking obsessing over turning 40, and, like, that whole internal critic where no one wants to see a woman redefine themselves at 40 and blah, 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 like, all of this, I was like, just like, tell me what it's like. And I was like, now I'm a cougar, and no one's going to like me. I'm not desirable. I'll never get a job. Like, I call my internal critic Veronica. She's, like, really mean. Just all of this, like, you're an old lady, check out. It's not worth it, And it was like, I had to say to myself, like, if you give her attention, if you allow yourself to have a conversation with her, like, it will gain, like, I know when it's gained too much momentum and then I can't get back to happy. It's almost like when you've stacked up books and the books start to fall over, and, like, there's that moment where you're like, this shit's just it's gonna fall. That's like going to somebody and, like, jumping out of a plane and being like, how do I make this stop? And the answer is just like, hold on tight. It'll be over soon. You know what I mean? Like, at that point, you've already jumped out of the airplane. So, like, when I'm having negative momentum, I try to catch it before I jump out of the airplane, because then I'm gone, and I can't get back to my joy.
Yeah. I have a question about all of that then. So, because I grew up, both my parents were therapists, and so it was a lot of rhetoric of optimism. So I'm wondering if it's like a balance system, because then it became ingenuine in a lot of ways, and so it was like performing happiness, I think. And so I feel like I'm in a place where I'm, like, just trying to validate the tough stuff in order to, like, get to the other side a bit.
I get exactly what you're saying, and because Renee and I are both in a program, like, we know how to.
We're recovering drunks, everybody.
But
you're not breaking anonymity if you tell on yourself, by the way, because somebody told us last week, as a quick aside, aren't you not being anonymous? It's only if you go out in the world and tell people that I'm sober. That's breaking anonymity. But I can do it. Okay, Jackie, continue.
I'm like, I thought it was unanimous, but but part of what we learn is that we don't have the luxury of a negative thought, and so when we get one, we do a whole deep dive into our lives and change our perception on things, but we don't bury it. We face it all, like badasses, and then see what we can accept, what we can change, and we're telling it to another person, so it's not festering in us.
And you can also look at the negative in a positive way, don't you think, Jackie? Like, when I'm having negative emotion, I'm like, oh, look, this is contrast showing me what's not working in my life. Okay, this is good. Like, I can almost have a positive outlook at the negative thing. Like, I have a spinal injury. When I get spinal spasms, I'm like, okay, this is what the body does. The body is informing me that something's wrong. And like, how amazing is this mechanism in my body that's telling me like, I now need to go make an adjustment. And so like, I try to find a spin on like, but do I like getting spinal spasms? No, I don't just be like, I'm having another spasm. This is great.
Today I accidentally crazy glued my fingers together, and I was like, how amazing is skin that like we could like put anything on it, and like it's not gonna be like stuck there forever. It's gonna like I got it out.
How did you get it out?
Nail polish remover, soap, and what was the other thing? Nail polish remover and soap. I think that was it. Yeah. But it's like skin is so amazing. It's amazing, and having all our limbs is amazing. There's just so much to be like super happy about and grateful for. But also, like at the end of the day, I do a check-in. Like, was I resentful? Did I have self-pity? Did I have fear? And then I try to like get rid of it, or feel it fully for a minute. Like feel really scared for a minute, and then move on from there. And I heard Madonna used to say that she was like, I let myself think for 5 minutes a day, I'm not going to be successful. And then the rest of the day, she just went with, I'm going to be successful. So it's not like totally just being optimistic all the time. It's looking at positive stuff and looking at the negative stuff, but not letting it get bigger than the positive
not
stuff.
Indulging. My sponsor always says to me, any story, she doesn't let me tell any story more than 3 times. She's like, when we're going through a negative place, it is important to like transmute that energy, get it off your chest. You got to kind of like clear yourself of it. So I can vomit the story, and then, you know, I can go to a meeting and vomit off of somebody else to kind of like get some commonality. But by the 3rd time, it's like, now we're getting into the solution. Now we're going to have positive thought. And if I keep retelling the story, I'm indulging in my negativity. Yeah. And like, that's when it'll grow.
But it's never just like, I love that. And it's never just like, get over it. That used to make me insane. I had
totally like
friends that were just like, get over it. And I'd be like, I can't get.
And that makes it worse when someone's like, don't have a negative thought. Then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm scared of my negative thought. I'm like, I got to get it out of my brain, because if I think this negative thought, then it's going to, you know, and then I'm like all of a sudden paranoid about the negative thought I'm having, instead of just leaning in and being like, all right, you're going to, one of my friends recently had a baby, and she's like, that's kind of how I treat negativity. Like, when you're in labor, you can't just be like, I'm not in labor. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to push. I'm not going to have contractions. I'm just going to, like, you have to lean into the pain and accept, like, okay, I'm about to be in pain for a little bit. Let's fucking lean in. And then you get to the other side of the pain, and then you have this beautiful baby, right? You know, and it's the same sort of, it's kind of amazing, right? Like, I love that analogy. Like, that's how we get through it, you know, like we
let our feelings have feelings. Let all the feelings have their own feelings. And then, you know, but I'm also doing internal family system. Did I tell you this?
No, what is that?
Oh my God. It's like how 12-step is like from the outside, like internal family systems from the inside. So you talk to all your negative voices as your higher power. So like your negative voice is like, you're going to be nothing. And you're going to be like, so what? Like, and you just talk to the negative voice until as higher power would. Oh, there's a list of words that if you're in courage, if you're in connectedness, if you're like, you can't not be connected to all that is higher power, whatever you want to say, love, eternal love. If you're curious, connected, there's a whole bunch of them. Courageous. I'll send them to you. I'll list them next time.
It.
But
we're getting close to wrap. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Jax.
Yeah, but it's like talking to those emotions and not forcing them to change or stop, like hearing them out, but just like, and ask them if they want to choose something else, or like, do you want to keep saying that over and over, or do you want to, because some of them don't know, like they're like a hammer, they think they just have this one function. So if we could talk to them and be like, hey, do you want to do something else? Like, you don't just have to do that, you don't just have to keep beating me up constantly, we could do something different. But they all are protectors that have helped us at another time, but now we don't need them, now they're just hurting us. It's really wild. I have a friend that's helping me do it. It's really cool.
Send me the link because I want to do that.
I will.
Well, as we wrap up, we like to do a little thing to escort the show off the air. So we're gonna give you, Kayla, if you had to come up with like a Spotify 3-song playlist of like your angry music, like when you're trying to get rid of negative shit, like what would be 3 songs that would be on that playlist of like the day you have the fuck-its, your fuck-its playlist?
Okay, I think there's a song, I'm forgetting what it's called, but it's called, or I think it's called, Helen in the Woods.
Helen in the Woods, that fun.
And it's like really intense. And it's this like person like screaming about how nuts she is and how nuts other people think she is. And then, so that's one. I think the other one, My Chemical Romance, Welcome to the Black Trade. Is that it?
Yes.
A good one. Third one. I don't know if okay, it's not angry, but I love it, so I'm just gonna say it. Montero, the new Call Me By Your Name song by X.
I love it. Those are great answers. Jackie, your 3. What would be your 3 on your sweat?
I love
your fuck-its playlist.
I like Thunder Kiss 1965 by White Zombie.
Yes.
What else? I love I like You're Gonna Hear Me Roar, Katy Perry.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? Fuck it playlist. LL I'm Bad by LL Cool J. I'm Bad by LL Cool J.
Yes.
What about you?
I'd have to say, so I'm newly obsessed with NF. Do you guys know who NF? He's actually a Christian rapper, but he's brilliant. He's like the new Eminem. And he has a song named Change. I highly recommend you look it up. Like gangster rap is like my go-to thing when I'm having the fuck-its. But also one of my favorite songs of all time is Battle Flag by Low Fidelity All-Stars. Do you know that song? That's pretty much a like angry at the world, but weirdly empowered to like make a change. And then I got to go with the classic Eye of the Tiger. Like I have to.
Oh, so good. Eye of the Tiger. In Thunder Kiss 1965, the one woman in NASCAR, that hot woman, she says in it, I never try anything. I just do it. Want to try me? It's so good. You're just like,
yeah. So now we all have songs to download. Kayla, thank you so much for being our guest today. You were absolutely a delight. So thank you. Kayla, check out our Instagram. Kayla, if you email me real quick the link, I'll make sure to put it in the chat to follow up for our stream on YouTube after, so people can find you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla.
Bye.
Bye.
Jackie Monahan, you know I adore you and love you. This has been another great fun
I love you. Love this.
I want to hug you.
I know.
Shannon Wong Lerner told us that we have the best BFF relationship. So one day we're going to hug each other in real life. It's going to be
I can't wait. It's getting close. It's getting time. Vaccination.
It's getting close. We love you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today.
We love you.
Until next week, this is Never Normal. Dun, 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 get involved.
Never normal.